Okay, how you doing? I'm doing fine. New hat, beautiful day. I want to talk a little bit more about intentionality, try to explain that a little more, and see if we can do a little bit more about how all that happens and how to make it happen. So, I'm going to tell you a story. First of all, I think that intentionality is really just one step beyond synchronicity, which is really just one or two steps beyond coincidence. Now, we all know what a coincidence is. You meet somebody you haven't seen in 20 years, and you've both gone to the same store at the same time, and bingo, it's statistically pretty rare. Synchronicity, of course, is statistically much rarer than that. When two things happen out of the blue, three things happen out of the blue, what I guess has been described as 6 degrees of separation. We are all very, very close to each other, but how do you make that connection aside from bumping into each other at Macy's after 20 years and you haven't seen somebody since high school? Well, you know, there's a way, and where there's a will, there's a way. And I think that intentionality's got a lot to do with will and willpower. So let me tell you a story. I was in Siem Reap, which is the little town, getting bigger, outside Angkor Wat, where millions of people go to the jungle temples there. And it's getting kind of a busy place. And anyway, I was in a guest house called the Riverside, conveniently located right next to the river, and I hadn't spoken any English in a while. And I went outside to sit in the cafe, and bingo, there's a white guy sitting there. So I asked him if I could sit down, and we did. I did, and we started talking, and turns out he's an American, and I'm a Canadian. And how you doing, and what do you do? And I told him I'm a travel writer. And what do you do? His name was Richard. And Richard said, oh, I have a rather unique job. You wouldn't believe it if I told you. Okay. Tell you the truth, Richard, you look really familiar. Are you on TV? Is that the unique job? I'm sure I've seen you around somewhere. You feel like you're somebody I really know. And Richard says, oh, everybody tells me that. Everybody tells you that, really? Kind of explain. Why is it that everybody feels they know you? Well, that's because of my job, which is I'm a body double for Elton John. What a job. So Richard, as it turns out, stands in for Elton John on stage, in the limo, wherever there's a security problem. Elton thinks there's some danger. They send Richard out instead. He's been doing this for 20 years. You know, waving to the crowd, signing autographs, all sorts of weird stuff. And I said, this is really strange. I have an idea. You know, downtown Siem Reap, there's a bar where all the crew from Lara Croft Tomb Raider used to go and party after the shoot every day, called the Red Piano. Have you ever heard of that? Richard said, yeah, I was there last night. I know where the bar is. And I said, let's go down there and see what happens when you show up. And Richard says, I know what's going to happen. It's what always happens. So, sure enough, we went for a walk down there, and the place was packed. No chairs. One chair, right by the front door. So I said, I'll hang on to this. Richard, you go get another chair and sit down by the front door. There's no tables, but we'll sit here and pretend to be hosts and see what happens. Richard said, I know what's going to happen. So we got 2 chairs. We sat down. And we were there 30 seconds, and the first people walked in. It was a middle-aged man and woman with a 12-year-old child. 12-year-old child looked at us, no recognition. But the man, oh my God, Martha, look who's here. And he runs out with his hand out, and Richard jumps up, and they start shaking hands, and gosh, signing autographs. It's hilarious. Imagine doing that all day, every day, because as Richard said, that's what happened to him all the time. So we decide to give our business cards to the waitress and say, can you go get the owner? Owner's name is Gert, Belgian guy. And Gert comes out from where he is in the back and takes one look and goes, oh my God, welcome to my bar. And Richard says, have you got a piano? I tell you what, let's take a picture of me playing the piano. You can put it up on the wall next to the Angelina Jolie picture that is hanging up there and brings in all the crowds. Have you got a piano? Well, we have a red piano. Trouble is, says Gert, it's only about this big, a little tiny toy. It's hanging up on the wall. But you know what? That's a real coincidence. I was thinking just the other day to buy a real one. And in walks Elton John. Coincidence, synchronicity. If you travel with a certain state of mind, strange things like this happen to me all the time. And, as Richard said, they happen to him. Only you don't have to look like just like Elton John for strange coincidences to happen to you all the time. Because coincidence is one thing, synchronicity is another. And intentionality is where you get to, where if you travel with a certain state of mind, interesting things happen all the time.